All right, Cryptilian live chat. Here we go. Thursday, April 14th. Yeah, nothing crazy has changed. Yesterday, Bitcoin looked like it had and Ethereum looked like they had a very, very strong possibility of a breakout formation right here. Especially on the 1 hour, if you see this shape happening on the 1 hour, it usually leads to a breakout. The breakout started going, but right as it tried, the NASDAQ futures started tumbling at the same exact time and brought this down. So Bitcoin was trying to make this formation all throughout here, and then the futures started rocking and rolling down, and it dragged Bitcoin with it, although it was a fairly bullish looking setup. Similar to how Bitcoin can ruin the party on BEPRO, the NASDAQ market brought this guy down. Yesterday, Vic, specifically, and so you got stopped out per the exact stops we put, and it should have averaged about 2.5%, right? Roughly? Yep. Okay, perfect. Yep. All right. And so yeah, on that VIP call, for any VIP on this, it's roughly at the end of that recorded video, which I think I already put on the recorded live chats and the VIP live recordings. It shows exactly where, like, how I did how we set up the profit taking and stop losses and all that stuff. We split it up into quarters since KuCoin makes it really easy to split things up by 25% because it has a 25% button. But this is Cryptilian chat. All right. Now, I'm going to resort back to not the macro ranges, this channel. The trading channel that has been formulated since the big drop, or since this relatively big drop here on January 20th. The January 20th drop marks the top, and it's a parallel trading channel. In very general terms, price couldn't even get up to the weekly 10. It got rejected from, or it failed. More specifically, it failed, which is a form of resistance. So the bottom of the point of control was used as resistance. It failed it. So failure means it gets above, but can't ever use it as support. Rejection is more like this wick right here. Let me zoom way in here. So this wick is more like a rejection. It failed it, then came up and got rejected by. That's a rejection. This is a failure. But it's two forms of the same thing, which is form of resistance, which means it's extremely, extremely probable that this line is hit. Because if you fail the something above in a range, then you need to come down and hit some bounce point. You don't have a trampoline until you hit here, which is 39.5. And again, if Bitcoin hits this 39.5 area and NASDAQ futures are weak, it's the next pit. It'll go almost straight down another $900 down to 38.6. So it's about a $900 drop down to here. Or call it $1,000 because it'll probably wick below because it's gaining velocity. So when you're falling from a little bit higher up down to another trampoline area, if you jump from a house, a rooftop, a one-storied rooftop, hopefully no one's crazy to jump from a two-story roof down to a trampoline. But anyway, one-story rooftop, which is something I would do for fun. But the fabric of the trampoline will go down farther than if you're just jumping from the trampoline itself. So it could wick down a hole, to 38.3 because it's falling from below. But I think an hour would probably, the first hour that wicks below, I'd probably want to close above here, unless, of course, NASDAQ futures are really, really starting to gain steam. So these are the immediate price targets that I have, 39.5 and 38, just roughly 38.5, so $1,000 apart roughly. And but here's one thing to be concerned about, everybody, and this is it's starting to get concerning, and it's in addition to the concern that my recent, I guess, YouTube video showing a perfect hit rate of the daily 10 and 200. It's got like 8. It's 8 for 8, being a signal for it's getting ready to go down a lot. When you go below, come back up and go immediately back below. This type of formation, after a big drop, you have a rally up. The 10 crosses above, so red goes above, then red goes right back down below. I think it's 8 for 8. So this could be the first time ever the same thing doesn't happen. It's totally possible. But I think it's 8 for 8, 100% hit rate, that it either has a 32% drop or a 58% drop. So I think out of those 8 times, or roughly 7 or 8 times, about 4 or 5 of them, they had all like the same amount of drops, 32 to 33%. And then 2 of them specifically had a 50, it's almost exactly 58, both of them. One happened in 2014, and the other 58% drop was March 2020 coronavirus dump. So just watch out for that. On top of this, though, so we've already covered that, but on top of that, put back on the origin lines, this is looking bad. We're having full-on closures below the bottom line on the daily. Closure below, tried to rally back above, daily coming back below. I mean, this could be a slip and slide show here. Just a warning. However, one thing that could be happening is if you draw, maybe I am missing one parallel line to this. It's possible that, you know, this could hold things up. However, the other times price went this low below this line, it didn't open and close candles below it ever. So this one closed below. Here, let me zoom way in. This one closed below, this one opened below, but none of them opened and closed below on a daily. And here you have open and closure right there. And you have closing, so you have 2 that are going to close below, 1 that opened below, 1 open and closed below. I mean, this is looking pretty bad. In addition to the signal, you know, the 8 for 8 signal or 7 for 7 signal of a 33 to 58% drop. Things are not looking good. So if you're holding Tether, you know, in terms of trying to DCA for more of an investing hybrid or a hybrid HODL trading position outside of futures, I mean, I would right now the most profitable thing you can do outside of futures is probably holding Tether. Now, if you're a futures person, you have I'm hitting my microphone area. If you trade heavily on futures, well, I mean, you know, you can trade really small time frames. There's always money to be made. But somewhere in crypto land, that's the benefit of trading really small time frames. So outside of futures trading, the most profitable thing to be doing right now for spot / DCAing / hybrid HODL type of stuff is to be holding Tether. And yeah, that's what I got. I mean, there's some pretty big warning signs that things could heat up. However, I do want to make note that there are tons and tons of altcoins. Like during my live chat today, there are tons of altcoins that have a horizontal. Let me move this over. That have a horizontal, and the weekly 10 is going like this. And price is about like, so it goes down, like, you know, and price is about here. And there are tons of altcoins that are going to have their squeeze play right around May 1st or last week of April, first week of May, late April, early May. And I think I either gave I think it was a daily update video, the most recent daily update video. I tried to warn everybody, hey, the next Fed meeting is May 3rd through 4th, is May 3rd and 4th. But a lot of times traditional markets sell into that. And the first 2 days they would have available, you know, the 2 days trading days prior is Friday, April like 30th or something. Friday, April 30th, I think. But the last Friday in April, and then Monday, May 2nd. Monday the 2nd. And it aligns with a ton of altcoins looking like they're going to fall off a cliff right around late April, early May, and there's so many things signaling this area. Yeah, it's looking kind of scary. So even though this looks like it might turn into slip and slide now, I do see a lot of things saying, hey, it's going to hold on for a little bit, and things won't. I would say there's a higher probability if things really start heating up to the downside, it's probably going to hold up until the last week of April. And yeah, I think that's what I got for a quick overview. Nothing crazy has changed because price is not above the weekly 10, so therefore assume targets down until you get at least a daily closure above the weekly 10, and that's what we got. So holding Tether is the name of the game, except for if you're trading futures. You know, you can trade both ways depending on the time frame you're on. All right. Cryptilian, I don't know if I have specifically Cryptilians on here, if Kissboy or Lantern. Let me look at some names I don't recognize. Hey, Sequoia, you're back on here. Holy cow. Okay, I'll probably, I want to know how things went during the Crackhead or VIP call, so I'll hold off on asking how things went. Okay, so Lantern SP, Crypto Anonymous B, Kiss Boy, maybe 2% arbitrage. I don't know if you're Cryptilians, but one of y'all fire away if you want to ask me something, even if it's non-Bitcoin, even if it's not an analysis. Fire away.
Hey Tim.
What's up?
So I have sort of a question. So I took a 3S short this morning on Bitcoin. It was around what was it? 41,300, and then I closed my short, and now I'm basically just waiting to see if I can get into any good alts if Bitcoin continues to go further down. I was thinking about BEPRO, but I'm not exactly sure yet. I was thinking maybe I can, just like you mentioned, maybe do like a 25% when it hits its weekly 10. So I just wanted to know what you think about that.
Okay, so you want to take some profit / money from this trade and then find an altcoin to dollar cost averaging lightly, correct?
Right.
Okay. Right. All right, and BEPRO is your coin of interest.
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, that was a good time to be in a 3S token. I mean, that's a pretty powerful move. No, that was great timing.
I don't really do it too often, and I was really scared because I almost got wicked out right at the 9 o'clock. They had like a little green wick at the beginning, I guess, to like what's it called, like scare away shorts, and then it went down right after. So I was really close to leaving.
Right. The only reason to be scared during a trade is if you don't already know your exact game plan for when you're exiting, for your risk management. So it sounds like you got into that trade not having an exact, like a very exact plan for being stopped out. Because if you did, you wouldn't have been scared. It just would have been, yeah, I already know I'm potentially going to lose 5% on this trade or whatever, which is kind of common for 3S tokens. Like you probably don't want to average 5, but sometimes when you haven't done it for a while, you might, you should already have the game plan. Therefore, you shouldn't be scared. Just a heads up.
I knew where I was going to sell at, and it went exactly there. I just didn't consider too much like what my stop losses would be at.
Right. So there are only 3 bubbles to trading. Your entries, right? Your profit taking and your risk management. So it sounds like you had a plan for your entry and your profit taking, but you didn't have a plan for risk management, and that's why you were scared. Actually, let me move this over. Yeah. So if in the future you start, before you enter, you need to know, okay, if it's roughly right here, I need to be out exactly, at this horizontal, and what type of percentage would that put me? That'd be a 2% loss or something. I'm cool with that. That's sustainable over time. In crypto, anything between 2 to 4% average wick out, it's usually sustainable as long as you have a good system. If you start flirting with like 5%, 5% losses each wick out, that's kind of crossing the threshold of sustainable over time. But anyway, so make sure next time, if you don't want to feel that heat or that fear, just make sure you know exactly what you're doing with your stops. And for 3S tokens, you cannot trade it. You can't use this like spot, man, because you could be down 65 to 70% in a week. I mean, you have to treat the 3S tokens like futures. Doesn't matter if you can't get liquidated. Because who cares? If you're down 70%, it's almost as freaking good as being liquidated, right? I mean, what's the difference? The difference is it could bounce back, but then again, it could keep going lower. All right, so next time, make sure you have your stuff there. All right, BEPRO, and you'll feel the difference during a trade. You'll realize, okay, it's like a calculated thing. I can go to bed, I can walk away, I don't care. I can't lose more than 2.5%. I have my stops in. So BEPRO weekly 10, it'll really make trading a lot less stressful if you know exactly how much you'll lose and you've already accepted it before you entered the trade. All right, BEPRO, yeah, weekly 10 is a good pickup. I would probably try to put some limit buys somewhere around 0.0045. And you could probably put those limit buys in now. So let's say you're planning. You did? Okay, perfect. Yeah. However, if I have $100 I wanted to spend, I wouldn't put more than $50 worth there, or half of the money you're planning on spending. I would not put more than half of it in limit buys around here, because once BPRO gets there, if Bitcoin at the exact moment here, or Nasdaq futures decides to take at least a 3% leg down, exactly as BPRO's here, BPRO's going to go a lot farther down. Therefore, you want at least half more to dollar cost average a little bit lower. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. That
would be my game plan for that. But yeah, good trade. Great timing on a trade. And you just realize not all trades work out that perfectly. So when you get into a perfect entry and perfect timing, you have to recognize it as such. It's almost like, a lot of times you'll see a lot of, like I don't know if you live in a city or whatever, but just imagine a road where you can see at least 4 sets of stoplights, in front of you. It's almost as if all of them are green, and you get through all of them when traffic's fairly heavy. You're like, wow, I just got lucky, that doesn't happen every time. You need that same feeling when a trade works out that perfectly, because you entered at a perfect time, it hit your profit taking area perfectly. It doesn't always work. That's like hitting 4 to 5 green stoplights in a row in heavy traffic. So just definitely recognize it as such. It's not always that easy, and therefore that helps. So when things aren't that easy, you realize, oh wait, this is more normal, because trading isn't necessarily easy. It's just over time it's profitable, but sometimes you get your butt kicked. All right, yeah, I think you got a good game plan. Do you feel that I answered your question fully?
Yeah, you did. I put my stops already, but then I saw that Bitcoin still hadn't gone. It still hadn't reached the first red line on its midterm trading channel that you showed. Like that's where it had its previous 2 bounce points. So I was like, maybe if we continue going down to the very bottom of the midterm trading channel, like around 37,300, then it could obviously go much lower than its weekly 10. So that's why I only did like a 25%.
Yeah, 20 or 25%. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's also a good idea. Perfect. Yeah, I think you got a good. What's your first name?
Tassif.
Hassif?
Tassif, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tassif, that's right. Okay, TF, Tassif. Yeah, I remember. Tassif, yeah, I think you got a pretty good mindset. Like, that was, you entered a trade well, took your profits, and you're waiting to deploy it, and I think you have a good game plan. You executed one very well, and then you have a great plan for where to put your money. So, yeah, I think you're gonna, if you keep doing that over time, man, and you're here for the next bull run, just wait. Like if you're at that level now, and then let's say the next bull run truly doesn't start until 2024, which is kind of what I'm leaning. Like I'm thinking maybe this September through November. But I don't know. I'm kind of thinking more probable 2024. But you'll realize once things start popping, let's assume 2024 loosely, you're just gonna slay. Strong uptrends are so freaking easy to trade, because you're gonna be taking all these retailers' money who are buying shit after a YouTuber talks about it. That's all you're doing. And you already pretty much know where it's gonna stop. So if you're at that level now and you stay with it for a year and a half or so, you're just gonna year and a half to 2 more. You're gonna kill it once things are hot to the upside. It's just gonna be so easy. Similar to how a lot of the new retail people on BPRO, when I was making calls on, hey, it's probably going to stop at 0.009 or whatever, and then 0.004, 4 cents, and then people were saying, you're like clairvoyant, like how is this possible? And I was responding, it's not magic. I promise you this is way easier than what it will be after everything's going down, and you'll be in that bucket too. All right, perfect.
Tim, those same people wanted to stone you when you said it was not going to keep going at 4 cents.
I know.
Right? 0.4. They wanted to kill you.
Right. But after they saw it was right, I mean, a lot of those people became, a part of the Patreon. Yeah. So it takes a while.
Baby.
And Veracity people, Veracity made me a liar for about 45 days, but then it just took about a month and a half for what I think it only went up. Yeah. I really thought Trias, though, when Bitcoin was charging up towards 69K, I really thought the bull run was going to continue, and I thought Trias was going to at least hit $123, but it did not, because Bitcoin obviously turned right around. Yeah, that second little pop up to 69K really fooled the hell out of me. All right, so Yeah, rock and roll. Any other Cryptilians in here who have things they wanted to ask, whether it's money on the line or not?
Yeah, I had a quick question for you, Tim. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. What do you think a good entry point would be for 𝐓𝐽𝐬𝐜? You know, assuming Bitcoin
Futures trade or spot trade?
Spot.
Okay, perfect. Assuming Bitcoin is going to bottom out soon. Yikes. It's not, this is not good. Yikes. Oh boy. Going below an origin line after rejection from the weekly 10. I don't know.
Yeah,
This
could been a tough call.
Yeah, I think even if Bitcoin goes sideways, this is going to have to test lower. I think it's going to have to test 16% lower, down to somewhere towards 66 to 70 bucks. Or 66 to 67. That would be my guess. However, if that doesn't happen and Bitcoin kind of bottoms out and has a move up, well, that's about the same level, isn't it? Yeah, that's about. I really see 66 bucks being hit.
Okay.
If you go down to the 4-hour chart, a way that I would pull the trigger a little earlier, maybe halfway, is if the 4-hour RS. Should I pick the 4-hour? Yeah, I would say maybe the 12-hour. Let's see. Do you have access to the 8 or 12-hour, or only 4 and daily? 4-hour and daily.
Just the 4-hour and daily.
Okay, that's fine. If you can see the 4-hour RSI get above the white neutral line and then come back and retest its this white EMA, if it can do that. So I'll draw out the white EMA something like this. If you can see it get above and come back and touch that white EMA, and that $66 target has not been met, I would also pull the trigger. So under those two conditions is where I would look into starting to buy spot.
Okay, perfect. That helps. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, but this is yeah, it's losing this origin line, and this line does. I mean, it does get movement. I mean, it gets things. This is, I have it blue because it's one of the more important ones, and yeah, it looks like it's gonna. But I think 66 bucks is pretty damn probable. All right, rock and roll. Who else is? What other Cryptilians have questions? Yeah, lost it. This is an important. Yeah, this is a real. I shouldn't have made that so small. That's a really important horizontal. Oh boy. So you got lost a horizontal, an origin line, and the weekly 10. Oh boy. Yeah, if this pops up one more time to make a higher low, this could be a really good short entry, because I think it could have a rapid 15% move down. You might keep it on. If you're not a fan of futures, then I would probably stay away from it. But because it looks like you're trying to spot trade stuff, but that could be a good setup.
Like you could launch a bot around that price range too, a bot short around that range that would exploit that if once it did turn and go down. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into that. I might have to schedule a live chat with you so we can you can educate me on that.
We should talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good.
No, it's genius. Like that honestly is genius, because my strategy around that is way less perfect, because if I don't know which way it's going to go, but I want to be in a position either way, I have to pick two different coins, right? And it's possible that I get screwed because the second coin doesn't do what I think, so I get wicked out on both. Like, even though it's not probable, but it's definitely possible. But with your method, it's not possible. Like, how
about this? How about this? Right now, if we don't know if we're going to go break up or down, launch both. Launch a bullish and bearish in the range, and they will both make money in the range. They have the potential to make money. They won't both make money because ultimately when they make, so if it ranged for a long period of time, they just rack up making money, right? Then when they aggressively moves out of range, if you're bullish and it goes up, that's when you make money on the price, on the entry, right? But during that whole time, they're trading for you and collecting profits and booking them. They're called grid profits. So they just rack up, rack up, rack up. So if Bitcoin wanted to range or AVAX or whatever for 2 weeks, you could just launch a bot at the top of that range, a bullish bot, a bearish bot at the bottom of the range, and let them work. Close them out when it moves aggressively out of one way or the other. Done.
Hey Carl, it looks like Near's about to close the hour at the low for the recent time frame.
Yeah, you got to see if it's going to pull its games and rip up, but I think ultimately it's going to fall apart. My call was for 14 anyway, so I think this is just falling with grace right here. So,
yeah, if I can see this come up and get rejected by here, I would really like to enter back at 1709 if it does it. That would be perfect. Yeah, that would, because it didn't necessarily, it only failed the line. Usually after you fail, you sometimes come up and get a straight up rejection. I would love to enter there. It didn't quite hit my area where I would have first considered trying it on this line, so I would have missed that anyway, even if I had my orders in, so that my next try would have been here.
I was in the long last night. I woke up to this all happening and flipped it because I knew what was going down. You know, I knew what happened. I just, because I had my stops and everything then, but I caught it just in time to catch as much profit as I could and flip it to a short around 17, just above 17. And then launched a bunch of bots. Well, I also posted for Kyber Network too, because when all this started happening, Kyber was still up. It was the highest on the board. So I launched a bot at the top of the range on that as well. KBN? Yeah, pull that up if you don't mind. I think it's KBN.
KNC.
KNC, sorry about that. Yeah, I've never even heard of it before.
Really?
I just saw it was at the top. You know what? Because I didn't know the symbol, and then I saw the name after I bought it, and then I realized, oh, okay, it's a decent one.
Oh wow, yeah. This still has higher. Yeah. This still has higher low potential in it too. I mean, this could actually wake up and squeak out one more higher high. It's possible.
Yeah, but that's rough. That's about it. But Bitcoin is falling apart. So that's why I'm saying, like, launching a bot up at this area is, you know, okay, that's child's play. Like, maybe not right now because of what you're saying, but let's be real. Bitcoin doesn't hold and this doesn't show strength. Just start launching bots up here.
Right.
Bearish bots. You know, this is one you could do it with.
Honestly, this would be a great setup. Look at that. Like, if it can come back up to that 45-degree angle, that'd be a great entry. This is
anybody should test this, man. A little bit of money, whatever the minimum is. It's the options bot. I forget what it's called. I don't even remember. Hold on. Which one I do all the time. And I think you can only do 10 of the futures grid. So futures grid bot. So you pick long or short. So I wouldn't recommend messing around with longs in this environment. I mean, Tim, I don't know if you disagree with that. But
unless you're trading the 5-minute chart and you're planning on being out in about 2 to 4 hours, I would not recommend
I mean with the bots. No, I mean with the bots.
Oh, right.
Then you could lose a lot of money on the bot if it, you know, you take a long bot and you just kind of forget about it and don't put a stop in on it. You have to put your stops. It's a you know, it won't do anything you don't tell it to do.
Yeah, you got 2 strikes, a bearish 8-hour divergence, so this is about out of steam.
Oh yeah.
Hey, quick note, everybody. Quick note for you. I just got a message that it's from Breitbart. They're streaming it live now, and I can't watch it. But Biden is delivering remarks on supply chain issues, so that may be able to affect the close of the markets. I'm not sure, but it's happening right now. So if you can see something wicked happen in the next, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, it could be because of that.
Yeah, I mean, Really, in general,
Nasdaq looks like it's falling down further. By the way, E-mini futures are going down. It looks like they're postured to go down further right now.
well, just last VIP or Crackhead call, what we did is we took a fractal from there, flipped it, and just kind of realized this could easily go sideways several times and wick below, and then try going higher. So we're already kind of thinking this might go up and down a few more times, which it's still within those parameters to try to mirror image this. So the wick is on the outside.
Me and Kazi took Jess's crazy fractal the other day, that the downwards fractal that said that she brought up, and we kind of played that out, and it plays out to the very downside, almost to the election cycle. It's pretty insane, like how close it is to the actual the elections. And you got to talk to him about it because I was on the phone when we were working on it. But I told him to peg the low with the Friday before the elections, and I think it almost works out perfect. And I think it's something that we should kind of watch over the next few weeks, a month, to see how that fractal works out, and we might have a guide all the way in to the elections. Because if things are gonna keep the pressure's gonna keep coming on inflation, they're gonna have to keep ratcheting up the interest rates, and they're not gonna have a choice because they can't back off of it because and nobody's talking about this, but Russia backing their currency with gold is huge. They're not going to be able to back off these interest rate hikes. It's going to be, for a lot of people before, remember when I said a lot of people thought it was going to be a pump fake, right? A lot of people didn't believe them. I think they're believers now. And I think we can really start to see things start to go down.
Yeah, Russia clearly had about a 3 to 4 steps forward game plan before they did this war. They already guessed what the U.S. was going to do, and they already had a plan for each possible scenario, at least 3 levels in. They're not...
And another thing we could do to kind of measure Bitcoin versus gold versus the dollar is we could run a parallel... me and Kazi were talking about this, running a parallel, because now, in theory, the ruble should not move. It should be in lockstep with the gold price. So we could run a ruble Bitcoin price too. It should be basically ruble gold. It should be gold Bitcoin at that point as well. So when you're seeing things drop down in dollar price, the question is what's happening in gold price? Because if the other currencies are inflating, which causes the dollar go up, have you looked at the DXY lately, the Dixie?
Yeah, it popped right above 100 and came right back down, but it's still it broke that important barrier of 100.
If it gets past 103 was the marker that we were looking for, right? If it hits 103, then it's going to run up.
Something to that effect, yeah. It's got a little ways to go, but still, it's breaking out to the upside, even though it has a pullback right now. But yeah, people sold that psychological 100 number, but if it finds another higher low, even down here,
I don't know that these guys can reverse until the very last second, right? But when the market starts to fall apart, when everything starts to go to shit, when they reverse, it's gonna be like a beach ball, fucking 50,000 leagues under the sea with Bitcoin and gold and silver and all this stuff that they're suppressing right now, because they're going to be forced to raise interest rates. I mean, when we get to 3.25, that's when they had to turn around last time. If we get that high, I'll be surprised.
3.25. What are we talking about there? 103.25 for Dixie, or what are you talking about?
Federal funds rate. The federal funds rate. It's only at 0.75 right now, and all this is happening. It's at 0.75, and all this is happening. I mean, that's if they start moving half into a quarter, quarter rate hikes, then you're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5 half rate hikes to put it at 3.25. And that's where they had to turn around last time in 2019. And the debt was nowhere near what it was then. So man, I don't know. Like I said, they're forced to make these plays right now. They have no choice absolutely no choice but to make these plays with the interest rates. But at the same time, there's only so far they can go before everything breaks. I mean, if everything breaks, the housing interest rates are already at 5% right now for a home loan. How are you going to buy this $500,000 house that was $150,000 10 years ago at a 5% interest rate?
Right.
It's going to get squirrely, and I think it's the moment they announce that they're going to back off, they have to announce that they're going to back off, or things just fall apart. Like the gold price starts running, then we have to be ready to pounce on that. And I think it might take a little bit of time after that happens, but that's when you're going to have your reversal, and it's going to go so. I think that's going to be pent up. It's going to be massive inflation, but at the time, like if the inflation is going to hit, we all know the food inflation is going to hit at the end of the year, and nobody's even arguing with that, right? Everybody's on board with we're looking at 2-3x prices by the end of the year in food. The question is when you're and this is why I presented the 𝐃𝐽𝐬𝐜𝐶. If we drop down, let's say to 33, and we just sit there, right? We just sit there and don't move, because
you cut out when you said because.
The downward pressure right here puts Bitcoin down that far from the raise in interest rates. But if you can't take it any further lower, and things are inflating around it, but it's not coming back up, the actual value of Bitcoin is dropping versus other assets. There's going to be a point in time, like me and him were talking about, where we're not going to be able, and we've talked about this before, we're not going to be able to measure Bitcoin in dollars if this shit starts hyperinflating like crazy.
Change of topic, just a real quick heads up. If BEPRO's not doing a whole lot and you want to trade another small cap that is extremely predictable looking, if you draw origin lines similar to how I have them here, Bolt is touching origin lines more perfectly than anything I've ever seen. It's almost perfect. And from origin line to origin line, which it seems to be doing, it's 100% trade. And it's happening within 5 days. I mean, if you started getting it right as it uses as support, not even trading up 2 origin lines, just selling at the next one, that took 6 days for 100% trade. Can you put more than 12 or like $2,000 in it? Probably not, without significantly moving price. But this might be another one to play around with origin lines if BEPRO's not moving, so that you can create potential profit and then move it back 100 bag and then move it into BEPRO. Because Bolt has 100% of its circulating supply in, so you're not going to have surprises of, hey, surprise, we just released a lot of tokens. This is playing these origin lines almost perfectly, just a heads up. So this might be something that she could be a potential fan of, or whoever likes BEPRO. When BEPRO's silent, this looks like it might want to rock and roll. Which right now it doesn't really, because it hasn't come up and used this as support yet. But once it gets above, comes back down, high or low, that would be a good time, because it's got a high likelihood of going straight up to here for a 90% trade, and only locking your money in there for 5 to 7 days on average. It's this looks like a fun one, perhaps even more fun than Silo, because Silo kind of hangs around the same area for quite a while. It looks like this is very tradable. All right, rock and roll. I am a little bit past the time for Cryptilians. Any other specifically Cryptilian that has a question before I jump into the Crackhead room?
Tim, did you already go over coal? What's the outlook on KOL Kollect?
Nope. I don't think I've ever looked at this.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I have. I got a line there. Yikes. I wouldn't try. I mean, if if I wanted to DCA into this because I have the feeling it simply came out at the wrong time, which justifiably it did. So, unless is this all the price history?
Yeah.
Okay. You could justify that. Wait, what'd you say, Jess?
This project has a lot of negative things going on right now, a lot of issues.
Right. This is straight down. So technically, if I wanted to take the chance of justifying, hey, this has potential for if Bitcoin starts racing up to 70K, I think this is a great opportunity to buy something that's 95% down, not even from 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐽, but from here. Yeah, that was a good guess, 95% down. I would not pull the trigger on more than 15% of what I want to put in it, because the likelihood of price discovery continuing down is I'd hate to say the word 90%, but it's probably 90% probable that it continues going down. This is straight down with no relief in sight. So just be really careful with this. If you decide to hit it or DCA slowly, just make sure the word slowly is within the practices of what you're doing. Do not hit it. If you have, if you want to be 5K deep into this at some point in the future, you might want to say every week I hit it with maybe $150 or maximum $200 a week. And you might want to do it on the time axis, just slowly getting into it. But with this straight down action, and Jess is saying, hey, it's got a lot of problems with it. Kind of like MTV sounds like it's having a lot of problems with it. Which honestly could make MTV and this, once they get the problem sorted, it could make it a great buy. But then again, it likely won't be a first mover. So the key is, the first thing I said, it looks like a strong probability of continued price discovery down. Second, if you lock your money into it in DCA, technically it would be more profitable to DCA into something that would be a first mover, that will be a 3xer, and this only 1.5x's. Therefore, you actually made money on the other coin. You could take profits from that other coin, then buy this once it's starting to heat up. So just keep that in mind. Usually what is weak will stay weak longer, even after other things recover. And that would be my 2 warning signs for that. I don't know if I answered your question though you wanted it, but those are my raw thoughts on looking at this chart.
Got it. Thanks, man.
Are you familiar with the project, Katie?
Which one?
Are you familiar with Cole, like what it's about and what it's doing?
A little bit, yeah, like NFTs and collectibles. I just know Reza, what's his name? Reda was all over it, and he usually does his good. Yeah.
So you might want to look into it. Project's having a lot of issues. Like NFT art has been copyright ripped off. They're copying, pasting. There's some really crappy stuff going on. So I would just say look into this project maybe before you invest into it. That'd be my advice.
All right, thanks.
I mean, just a couple of other. I've made plenty of bad calls too. Because when you're making calls on the most volatile assets in the world, essentially, you're bound to make a lot of mistakes. So I'm just preface with that. I've made plenty of mistakes too. This was also another one that was labeled a blue chip, lost all of its run down to all-time lows. Just a heads up. Another one, OOE. Another one that was labeled a blue chip, price discovery down. These are some of the worst tokens in all of crypto land that at one point were touted as blue chips. Just be very, very careful. I've said things, because when you're constantly making analyses, a lot of them are going to be wrong. Like I said, back in May, Bitcoin has a good chance of never going back below 50K, and then bam, straight down to 29K. So I've done plenty of bad, horrible, thought processes too that were completely opposite. Just a heads up, trying to get into what might be a blue chip, this and that. Just realize we're in the environment where if things do capitulate, these VC firms that got tokens, they're going to sell this hard. Doesn't matter if it's a good the better the VC firm, the more chances they're going to cut their losses real fast and dump. So just be very, very careful. Yeah, I mean, making altcoin calls during a bearish market is not going to be profitable. It's honestly, it's way more profitable to be holding Tether or to be trading futures on small term time frames. That's really the only way, great way to be making money right now. But also holding Tether for non-futures efforts is also a great way to, you just can't see yourself making money, but you technically are. So holding Tether right now is a great, great idea if you're not a futures person. Just a heads up. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, and you know, other people who I typically align with philosophically on crypto, like Crown, he like his opinions on folks who are calling out altcoins during a bull market, they're fairly harsh as well. Not everybody does, and I bet there's a shit ton of value for it. But just definitely keep that in mind. Bear market is probably not the best time to be seeking out altcoin positions in general, because Tether position is probably a hell of a lot stronger, even if it's Luna. Like, it doesn't matter if it's great, you know, Luna call, Luna type of deal. Holding Tether right now is a great is probably the most profitable thing possible. Okay, so let's look at any last chance for Cryptilian specifically, because I'm going to have to move over to the Crackhead room here in just a second. Okay, perfect. And again, one of the things I was most bullish on was 𝐓𝐼𝐢𝐼𝐿, and it is just as abysmal. Price discovery down, right? So like, this was one of my big ones that I thought was going to do well, but I did not anticipate a delisting, and it got destroyed. So tit for tat. You know, it's just when you're talking about price and making guesses all the time, a lot of them are going to be wrong. All right. Now I'm going to move over to the Crackhead room, Cryptilians. We'll see you next week, and Crackheads, I'm going to move over there.